TikTok. So I'm, friends with a lot of people who are having some massive success in TikTok right now. My friend Jay Cash, who I spoke with yesterday, wrote Savage Love for Derulo. Derulo, I'm very tight with. I just did a record with him a week ago. We're having conversations. His career
has been completely rekindled by that platform.
He has bodied TikTok. You saw TikTok come in. I mean, I believed from day one, I knew that this was going to be a huge mover. From
a mainstream, he is the Khaled was Snap.
Yep.
Ashton was Twitter.
Mood 24 Karat Golden, right?
100%.
I'm about to with that dude and Ian Dior. That record was written with TikTok in mind, right?
Bro, this is the weirdest day. This interview is all time. Hold on one second. I just got to show you this.
Synchronicity.
When I tell you, like,
yo, what's good, Gary? It's 24K Golden here, and I got a question for you today, right?
Yep.
So,
is that just so crazy? You
Not
and I
surprised.
are very much on the same wave.
Not surprised, dude. We're on the same wave. I'm going in with Blake Slack, the whole crew that's part of the Ian Dior Golden crew. Been working with Kid Leroy a bunch. Look, the TikTok thing so I did an analysis about 5 months ago. In the top 20, 16 of the top 20 songs had gone off on TikTok.
Yeah.
So here's the upside. I'm going to talk to TikTok for 30 seconds, then I'll get off. The upside, the downside, and where I personally think might happen with TikTok. Number one, the upside is it's removed barrier to entry. It's gate crashed the festival that is streaming and radio and Spotify. And so artists at this point who might not have had a shot, like Josh 685 from New Zealand. He's a 17-year-old high school kid in New Zealand, and he's going to make probably $5 million off Savage Love. That's the truth. Probably more. And so everyone's like, oh, I got to write songs. You can't game TikTok. You can pay the top 10 or 20 people to dance to your record, but ultimately they have created it in such a way that they actually, if they think a record label is gaming it, they'll kill it. They'll kill that virality. So it truly is a direct reflection of culture. Now that's the positive thing about TikTok. Here's the negative thing. The best song doesn't win, right? Historically, my whole career, and I'm quoting 2 record label executives right now that I've heard in the last month say the same thing. Historically, you could always say no matter what happens or what weird fad is going on, guys, the best song still wins. With TikTok, that's not the case. You have, it isn't so much to do with the record itself. It reminds me of the ringtone moment in the early 2000s when you had Happy Frog and these different songs popping off. It's not about the best song. It is about the dance, the virality, the culture attached to it. All these different
one could argue, I mean, not only could one argue, I can't believe what just happened. I've literally heard what you just said before in my life when the original manager of the Styx was talking to me about MTV.
Yep.
He said what MTV did was ruined it because the best records didn't win anymore.
Yeah. I don't think TikTok's ruined it. But just stick with me here because this is a super interesting moment. One could argue what TikTok is right now is what MTV was in the mid 80s that threw the entire thing for a loop, which was when you added the visual element and you added the fact that every teenager was in one place. Yep.
The best song got redefined because ultimately the only person, not you, not me, not the executives, not the academies, the consumer wins. And if the consumer's attention is in a certain place and the added variables of the full-fledged artistry, whether that's Charlie D'Amelio, 24 Gold, whatever it is, it is. The market is always right.
Yep.
I would argue.
If you could change the definition, right? What I would say to that is the most consumed song wins. The most engaging song based on visual and or song and or artist wins. The analogy that someone was saying is, do you think Adele Rolling in the Deep, right? One of the biggest, most iconic records of the last decade or longer, would Rolling in the Deep go off in the age of TikTok in 2020?
Yeah, but one could argue that the greatest songs that we all know in the 50s and 60s, if they didn't pay the radio disc jockeys to, I would argue that this game has always been the case, and that the relationship of distribution and who does or doesn't control it at that moment, or how controlled or uncontrolled is it, is a huge variable. You being an entrepreneur, for example, you dropped it very lightly already in here. We've never really talked about this, but this is why I've always desperately admired you from afar. And again, I mentioned it earlier, Eitan Sugarman, a great friend of both of ours, a great friend.
Yep.
You know, really was like the person I most, you know, I knew of you, but like just to talk about the quality of who you were. So like, you know, to me, if like someone's a nice person and hardworking, like I'm already on 3.5 base with that. But like you talked about earlier about the song in a commercial.
Yeah.
You know, your ability to be an entrepreneur, in my opinion, from afar, and think about things like a commercial.
Yeah.
Which is hugely financially valuable and distribution for awareness.
Yep.
I always talk about it. I call it the Good Charlotte rule. Good Charlotte on Madden on repeat when people were doing franchise mode in those early days really mattered. I think about distribution all the time.
Yep.
I would argue that Adele's song is remarkable, and was in the right place at the right time for distribution. Correct. And that had it been 20 years earlier, I have a funny feeling Adele's song would not win in 1999 TRL land because she didn't look the part to a lot of people.
Yep, you're correct. Timing,
right? So
I mean, dude, timing is everything.
So here we go, right?
How big NSYNC was. If you brought out 5 dudes right now that are American,
5 white dudes,
not going to happen.
Right? To America, 5 white guys to America right now, probably not going to be the moment.
About the least wavy thing you could do right now is put a 5-piece white group together.
Or maybe the counter move is the other way. And maybe it does. This is what I love about the market.
Zigzag.
Yeah. The market being the judgment. I think all that TikTok is doing is getting the same points of view from the establishment that has always happened always. Whether it was Soul Train and Dick Clark and Casey Kasem, whether it was MTV, whether then it was YouTube and Viva, whether it was Spotify, whether it's like, there will always be a new variable that comes and is more consumer centric.
Yes.
And then whoever is adaptive to that consumer centricality is going to win. And then whoever's not is going to say, this isn't real music. This
100%.
rap is not real. The Duran sucks. That's not. Could you? I mean, this is your world.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine what the real bands of the late '70s and early '80s.
Oh my God.
I mean, this is why I brought up the Styx story, because when I found this gentleman in a different meeting, I grilled him for an hour and a half because my thought of what the Clash, what fucking Led Zeppelin and like AC/DC thought when Duran and Twisted Sister and Rat took over because they were MTV centric.
Yep. You're 100% right. I mean, look, I produced the last 2 U2 albums. I've produced The Killers. I work with a lot of bands. I'm working with Bastille right now. It's a weird time in general for bands. It's a weird time for bands. Coldplay, biggest band in the world, dropped a double album earlier this year, and a lot of people don't even know what happened. And they're one of the biggest bands in the world. I
didn't. And I'm an enormous fan of their sound.
There you go.
I pay attention like a motherfucker. No clue.
No clue. I just told you. Now you're going to go online. You're going to go, holy shit, there's 2 albums here.
You know what's so funny about zigzagging? It makes me want to start a band.
Yeah.
Like to me right now, the opportunity to build like the monster band feels real.